Welcome to another episode of Erik Wait Whiskey Studies, and in this video I'm going to talk about the Auchentoshan Distillery and do a review of this Auchentoshan 21-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey. So this video is part of a series I'm doing and studying for the Level 2 with the Council of Whiskey Masters, in which I have to do a study of profiles of a provided list of distilleries. Now, if you're not familiar with Auchentoshan Distillery, it is a lowland distillery that is unique in the Scotch whiskey industry because they triple distill. But before I get into this whiskey, here is the history of this distillery. Auchentoshan Distillery is a lowland distillery located at the base of the Kilpatrick Hills, about a 30-minute drive or 11 miles west of downtown Glasgow. The name Auchentoshan is derived from the Gaelic and it means corner of the field. Some sources suggest that Auchentoshan Distillery emerged from an earlier Dunntocher distillery, which had been in place since the beginning of the 19th century. They then merged the two histories together. Other sources state that the two were close to each other, but were more than a kilometer or 3/4 of a mile apart. The Auchentoshan Distillery website makes no mention of Dunntocher Distillery and begins its history in 1823. In 1823, Auchentoshan Distillery was established in the Dunbartonshire estate by Thorne, who was an engineer from Greenock. In 1878, Auchentoshan had passed into the ownership of C.H. Curtis and Company Limited, also of Greenock, and had an output of the order of 50,000 gallons a year. In 1903, brewers, distillers, and wine merchants George and John Macallan took over the Auchentoshan Distillery site. In 1941, a German bomb raid severely damaged the distillery, destroying a warehouse. Whiskey production was stopped during the Second World War due to the targeting of the River Clyde and its shipyards. In 1960, Auchentoshan Distillery was acquired by J&R Tennant of Wellpark Brewery, Glasgow. Then in 1964, Auchentoshan Distillery was absorbed by Sherrington's, and then in 1967, it merged to become Bass Sherrington. In 1969, Auchentoshan was sold to the hospitality company Eddie Cairns, which began to sell Auchentoshan as a single malt through its own hotels and restaurants. In 1984, the distillery was sold to Stanley P. Morrison, which later became Morrison Bowmore, for £325,000. In 1994, Suntory bought Morrison Bowmore. In 2002, Auchentoshan released the Auchentoshan 3-Wood Single Malt Scotch Whisky. In 2013, Auchentoshan released the Virgin Oak Single Malt Scotch Whisky. In 2016, the Auchentoshan launched the new malt order with the Bartender's Malt, the Auchentoshan 21-year-old Single Malt Scotch Whisky. It is triple distilled, aged in bourbon and sherry casks, it's bottled at 43% alcohol by volume, and sells for about $220. So triple distillation tends to be more in common with Irish whiskey. Not all Irish whiskey is triple distilled, but they do have more triple distilled than, say, Scotland or anywhere else. Now, the southern part of Scotland, particularly around the shipyards, had a high Irish population, so certain Irish traditions were, in existence in the southern part of Scotland, which is sort of where the triple distillation for Auchentoshan comes from. So typically, triple distillation, you're going to get a lighter spirit, and I would say, generally Auchentoshan tends to have a very citrus-forward whiskey, aromas and flavors. If you've ever had Auchentoshan, some of the more affordable ones mentioned in the history of the production of Auchentoshan, and they have sort of geared themselves and marketed themselves as being sort of the bartender's whiskey. In fact, if you do a tour of the distillery, something you'll taste there is an Auchentoshan and ale, which is made like this. Alrighty, so I really liked the little sample that we had of the Auchentoshan and ale at the distillery. I'm not a beer drinker and I'm not a cocktail maker, but I think if I can follow the instructions, I should be able to somewhat duplicate what I experienced. So I have the recipe off the website. which I'll provide for you here. I provided the ounce conversion. They put everything in milliliters, so I also provided the ounces. And let's give it a go. All right, so we start off with 35 milliliters of Auchentoshan American Oak, which is 1.8 ounces. Ready? So this costs about $33 a bottle American. I tasted some last night, so I broke the shoulder here. It's nice. I would say it's not the most complex whiskey in the world. Some apples, pears, a lot of honey, a lot of vanilla, and definitely you can taste the oak in it. And I actually tried it chilled as well, which I kind of like that. So we want 1.8 ounces. I'm just going to go with the bigger side of the thingy here. And that's the technical word for this. This is the thingy. Lemon juice. It says 25 milliliters of lemon juice or 0.84 ounces. Turns out I bought 2 of these small lemons and it worked out to be just about 1 small lemon. So I already squeezed that, put that in there. 25 milliliters or 8.4 ounces of honey syrup. Basically you heat up in a pan, very low heat, just a little bit of honey and a little bit of water, equal portions of honey to water. And so I already prepared that. This is 2 ounces here, so I'm only going to put about half of this in here. That's super easy to make. Probably takes you about, I don't know, 2 minutes on the stove. Next, 90 milliliters of pale ale. So 90 milliliters of pale ale is about 3 ounces. Your Glencairn, about right there, is about 3 ounces. Combine Auchentoshan American Oak, lemon juice, honey syrup in shaker filled with ice. Okay, I did that. Shake vigorously. Well, let's go this again. Combine Auchentoshan American Oak, lemon juice, honey syrup in shaker filled with ice. Okay, I did that. Shake vigorously. Doesn't make any sense, but I'll give it a try. Now I'm feeling a little dizzy. Why don't we watch a professional do this, and maybe we can gain some tips.
Today I'm going to show you how to make an Auchentoshan in ale.
For each drink, use 30 ml of Auchentoshan American Oak, 2 teaspoons of sugar, half a lemon squeezed, give it a stir, give it a shake, top your glass with ice, pour it in and top with pale ale. One last stir and garnish with some fresh lemon. There we go. Welcome to the new malt order.
Auchentoshan ale, really nice cocktail, really enjoyable during the summertime. I'm not a big cocktail drinker, but that is one that I really like. Some variations of it, they'll use a honey, simple syrup, which is what I prefer, and some will use sort of a pulverized sugar cube. I prefer to use just a little bit of honey in the simple syrup. Now, as I said before, Auchentoshan tends to be more citrus forward, sort of lighter in character, but one with 21 years old, it becomes much more of a serious whiskey, whereas the others are, they're fine, single malts on their own, but I think they are geared a little bit more towards making cocktails. But this one, with some age, takes on some really unique characteristics. Now, it did take a little while for it to open up, but it has at its core that orange character, as do the other bottlings. But then it takes on some more of the oak character, and you get maybe a little bit of sandalwood, cinnamon. It actually gets a little bit of a savory note and a little bit of an old leather character. A lot of ginger, nutmeg, cinnamon, sort of an incense character to it, like an incense candle. and just a little bit of a chocolate, but not a dark chocolate, more like a lighter chocolate on the palate. Starts off citrus forward with honey, lemon, orange, vanilla. I would say classic Auchentoshan character. Mid palate, a little bit of that chocolate character kicks in, a little bit of caramel, then a little bit more of the savory note. I would say about 3/4 of the way back, a little more of the savory character, a leather character. Perhaps you took an old leather wallet, and you stuck it in your mouth while you're getting your keys out of your pocket or something like that, you know. I gotta make up some stupid excuse for putting leather in your mouth, or an old leather belt. There is that character on the back. And then the spice kicks in. There is sort of a sandalwood character, cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, and other baking spices. It's really, really nice. So it's got a real nice development. But I gotta tell you, you know, I'm now just below the label. Neck pour, it seemed a little bit more like a dirty orange. You know, there was some earthy character there with the orange character, and I wasn't real thrilled with it. I was like, oh no, I hope I didn't buy a dud. I hope this isn't dud. But given some time, it opens up really, really nice. Now, I actually opened this probably, I don't know, 6 months ago, but it's had more time to breathe, not just in terms of having another dram and then a few days later having another one and then another one. Just from having been opened, it's opened up really, really nice. I like the development. I like the length of finish. Probably medium to medium plus length finish. Perhaps a little thin on the body, you know, a little watery, but it's sort of a lighter spirit. I kind of expect that from Auchentoshan. But overall, it's a really nice whiskey. What I'm going to give it in terms of a score, I'm going to go solid 88 points. To get over 90, I would like some more depth. I would like a little bit more oomph. But in terms of the range of flavors, it's really, really, really nice. Personally, if I was tasting this blind and trying to make a decision as to whether I wanted to buy, I wouldn't spend over $200 for this whiskey. Sorry, 100 to 120 bucks at the most. Why? Because there are a lot of other whiskeys out there for far less money that qualitatively are just as good. There are some Irish whiskeys that I would like just as much as this one. But if you want to explore Auchentoshan and go a little bit more in depth as what the capabilities are of Auchentoshan, then go ahead and pull the trigger and spend that 200 plus on it. It's a nice whiskey. It's a nice whiskey. It just has a lot of competition out there in the market. Alrighty, if you like watching this video, you're going to want to check out this video over here, as I put some links to some other videos on this channel. And until next time, cheers. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out these other whiskey videos.